Okay. It says you are live. Wow. All right, campers and viewers. Looks like nobody's here. That's fine. We have the finally long-awaited appearance of Diamond from the Oppenheimer Ranch Project. Hi there, Diamond. How are you?
I'm doing just swell, Farmer. How the heck are you?
Never better. That was quite a little marathon dialogue we did last night after we talked about everything under the sun and Organizing 101. What are we calling this episode? Organizing?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So let's
Organizing
hit it.
101.
Go ahead.
How to begin.
Right.
Organizing 101. How to begin.
Very good. So let me get my sheets here. You want me to go through the notes, or we'll just let you run it, right? We were talking about how do you figure out and collect people who might be interested, like-minded people. Or you want to give an overview? What do you think, man?
Real quick. Yeah, real quick. I want to give an overview on what a successful march is. Now, it consists of 6 parts. The first part is you need a theme. You need a mission statement for what you're doing and going out there. What is your mission? Like for March Against Monsanto, it was to inform the public on genetically modified organisms and to stop them from being put in all the food we eat. Either that or labeling it so we know which food has these types of things in it. So that's a mission statement. And what we've been talking about is we do not consent. So choosing the theme of your protest is one of the most important things. So our theme is that we do not consent to these draconian, unconstitutional mandates. And then the second thing is, depending on what type of town or city you live in, you have to establish a support system. Now, that means that you go onto social media or in the phone book, you can even use the newspaper, you can use community resources and find all of the local groups in your area that support your mission. This could be constitutionalists, libertarians, Second Amendment groups, political groups, Republican Party groups. You could search the whole gamut, and you need to develop this support system. It's a group of organizations that are interested in becoming co-sponsors to the march. And these are the people that are going to help you plan the event. Only one person can only do so much. If you can find 10 other groups that have already organized people, then you quickly build a movement. So that's number 2, establishing the support. Once you have that, then you're on your way to planning the march or the rally. And then that involves a whole bunch of legalities that we'll do in a different show: permitting, march permits, park permits for where the speakers are going to be, or any of those types of things. Also reaching out to law enforcement to get the support you need to keep it peaceful. That's the most important thing, that while you're organizing, you make sure that no agent provocateurs can be involved in this, and you keep it peaceful. So let's go back to the first part and talk about the theme and how we establish a support system. Does that make sense?
Okay, perfect. I was going to say, we hit that last night, and that is essential, and I think people want to know about it. We were talking at the end of the call, because I was doing the notes, about reaching out, and you were saying on social media where you search it. You were talking about Facebook groups, and I'm looking here. What did we have? And this is why I haven't transcribed this into legible. This is still chicken scratch. And
yeah. So a good way to get access to tens of thousands of like-minded people is to go into that Facebook search box up top and start typing in stuff like face mask mandate or unconstitutional mandates. And you have to be creative. You could spend hours, and you're going to find hundreds of groups that are set up with like-minded people in them. And these are then you have to become a member of all those groups. That's step 1. After that, and you start organizing your march protest and you have information to disseminate, you could pop it into all those tens or dozens or hundreds of groups. And then you start to get messaging back, people that are interested in cities and different places. And that's how you start the organizing process, the easiest way, from your couch. I mean, literally from your living room.
Right.
The second way, which is the traditional way, is to go to the highest traffic areas in your town where you think people that would be interested in this topic, unconstitutional mandates, would be walking around, and you hand out little flyers. And you do this every day for weeks, and you organize different members of your group to go do that. And that's how you start to build the movement. So social media and actual direct canvassing with flyers on the corner.
Right.
So those are the two main ways you start that base organizing.
So I'm making those notes: social media and then direct canvassing. Now, it doesn't mean you individually have to do it, but first you got to get the group of like-minded people. So what's the first step is really finding the like-minded people, and then do what? Get a meeting together, or do a, I guess you could do a Zoom conference. What would you think is the best way?
When you do your homework, let's say I'm the organizer in my town, and I do some quick homework, and I find out that there's a constitutional group in town with hundreds of members. There's a biker, a biker club. And then there's the Republican National Committee in my town or whatever. I can go talk to all the leaders of that and say, would you be interested in helping us out with that? And you want to develop a core group of the main leaders. So once you have 2, 3, 4 main group leaders, then you can develop the mission statement and the core values of the march or the rally. So, and you want to keep it super concise, extremely inclusive, men, women, children, all races, all genders, all ages, because we're talking in American values. That's everybody. So you need everybody there. And then you need a very concise message. And then that's the message you then, as a small team, take out into the community, and you build the movement. And the most people you ever want to have in a meeting that's logistics for a march is probably 10 to 15.
Okay.
I mean, you could have a group that does security. You could have a group that does messaging. You can have a group that does signs. You have a group that, so you want to limit it to the amount of people, because volunteers tend to be, let's say,
flaky,
unreliable.
Okay. Better word. Right. Now, what we had said last night, and that was great, man. Those are good bullet points to break the groups out into little subgroups, right? And you were saying yesterday that you have 3, the main organizers, you got logistics, and you got the working groups, right? So we want to hit working groups, or are we getting too far ahead of ourselves?
No, so in the initial discussion with the leaders of the march or rally, let's say you get 2 or 3 people together, and they're committed to going all the way with this. That includes permitting and everything. Then you discuss what the working groups are. These are groups that can work independently. They don't need to meet up with you all the time. And then you could just have like once a week or bi-weekly meetings or whatever you're going to do. The working groups then are responsible for taking care of all the good business. You're going to need a working group for permitting, because there's a lot to do with permitting. Fees are typically small, $50 to get a permit. You're going to need to fundraise. You're going to need media. So you're going to need people that can go out to local areas like print shops in your region and say, will you donate the printing for this event? And most print shops that are in line with your message will, give you $100 or $200 worth of free flyers, because it's tax deductible for them. They're making a donation. So those are just some ideas on how you get started, and it takes footwork. So you have to be out there in the community. You have to be interacting with these people to actually build the movement. And then once it's starting, let's say you have tens or dozens of people involved in several groups and you're ready to go, then you take it to the next step. You need an advertising working group. These may be people connected to the media or in the media, and they raise a little money and they start placing strategic ads in local papers to start to drum up awareness of the event. Then you can have a local foot group that walks through the town that's flyering all the local supermarkets, libraries, kiosks, whatever you have in your town where the public's allowed to put flyers. You can even ask local businesses, because they're all hurting and they all will be like, please put the flyer on my front door. So I think that local small businesses that really got kicked in the shin with this one are going to be your main source of advertisement with a flyer in their front door. And to get that done, you just have to knock on a lot of doors and talk to a lot of people.
I love it. That's good stuff, man. I hope everybody's taking some notes and listening. If you're serious, this is the how to do it. Right? Right. Okay. So the advertising,
Yeah,
the permitting.
it's almost
Yeah, man.
like for year in the years we were organizing, we gained more and more knowledge on how to be more and more effective. And I want to share that my experience with the public to be as effective as possible.
Excellent.
And so in the next few weeks, you can have this nest egg started. We do not consent. We're going to have a rally, pick your local park. And then in a week or two, we're going to talk how to go further. We'll do a whole podcast on permitting and all the permits you need, how to talk to your local police department and get the support you need, how to go over their head and talk to state police and other people that will be there to protect you. If you end, let's say we've ended at the Constitution Center, and then the Philadelphia have jurisdiction there, but there's also federal officers that have jurisdiction there. So you need to talk to the feds and say, can we get 50 or 100 of you guys to help us out once we get to this venue? And they can work the whole perimeter. So if you have 50 feds on the perimeter of your rally while politicians are talking, nobody is going to start stuff. I mean, I've never, it would be the dumbest thing possible.
Right.
And then you have to end early or have a specific mission on how you're going to end it up. Because what's happening with the current protests is they end up as breaking up and then becoming riots immediately. So you really want to avoid destroying your own city if you're actually trying to impart change.
All right, let me stop you there. That was a lot. Now, a couple of things that you said last night that I hadn't realized. I mean, a lot of everything you told me last night, I had no idea, which is why you're such a tremendous resource, okay? So first, we have to map out where the march is going to be. You made that point. Where's the start point? Where's the end point? And if you want to end up at town hall, if you want to end up at city hall or the county commissioner's or the mayor's office or the governor's office. So in your local area, campers, think about this. Where do you want to end up? That's where we're talking about having speeches. That's where we're talking about having a big bucket of tar and feathers that will include in the permit. So make it a little fucking dramatic, right? And we are allowed to cuss here. Because what was that song we were saying? That was a good song. Go ahead, man. So
that was no. So if if you're going to a particular person's facility, like a politician or a mayor, you're going to probably need a secondary permit for that event. When you stop a march, the march permit ends. So the march permit only is from the beginning to the end and all the resources you need within the march to support that march. When the march is over and then you're going to have a rally in front of the mayor's office to stick your foot up his butt, that's another constitutionally guaranteed permit that you can acquire in your city. And that's for a rally. So the rally permit, typically they want to know how many people, you have to stay in a restricted area. You know, they want to have safety. So two different permits. And these rallies in front of political houses you're guaranteed to get permit because it's in the Constitution, a redress of grievances. Plus, when you tell them that the senator's going to be there and the head of this and the head of that, then you start to have influence. So you really need some good public speakers that are your organizers to reach out to high-level people, to speak to them like humans, to really get the message, the impactful message of your mission statement across to them, and then get them to join you. So that takes time. Like a senator can't come out next week. He needs 3 or 4 weeks of lead time. So you need to organize these. It depends. But each people is independent. So the sooner you get started looking for these people in that working group, the better. Excellent. But like I said, it is not hard to get influential politicians to show up and speak because election time is coming. And if they don't support mask mandates, they'll be there. I mean, it's that easy. You just have to look for the right people.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I don't know if we really want the political bullshit artists to be there because they need the foot inserted in their butts as well because they're go along to get along kind of crap. I think this is much more important to have a mass of people who do not consent, and the idiots can look from the sidelines and saying, holy cow, look at what just happened at the mayor's office. We've got a massive crowd. We've got public unrest. We've got people yelling and screaming. They don't like this arbitrary, capricious, we'll call it draconian, oppressive mandates that are dictatorial and tyrannical. They
Yeah.
won't stand for it. We do not consent. Fuck you
Now,
and fuck off is
right.
the name of the rally.
So, okay, so I'm getting more information. This is the third day we've had this type of discussion. I
Right.
think that our key to success here is reaching out to local businesses, and that will include Rotary and some footwork. I
Right.
think that the core group of people that are going to be marching in these rallies and marches are small business owners. They're the most effective. And not only that, they have the most political power in the community because they have customers, and you know, customers tend to go into stores where they like you know what's going on in there. And so what I'm suggesting is that we reach out to all the small businesses that were affected, and that will be our core base on who's organizing. Then they can all contact their friends, families, and customers, and we literally have a grassroots movement that could be tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people in cities.
All right. Now, the thing is, I love the idea of businesses. They may not be able to show support. They could also donate money. You made that point yesterday. And as you said about the Philly rally, you were going down the street and people were like, hey, what's going on? And more and more and more people joined. So that's excellent. And that's why promoting it is essential. And the concept of we do not consent. There are many poor guys who are small businesses and women who have been crushed by these arbitrary definitions of essential versus non-essential businesses. Those people, you said Rotary Club, go to the Chamber of Commerce if you want. You know, although they're part of the whole,
Exactly.
what is it, the Council on Foreign Relations, is that whole pitch. But the little guy who's losing his paycheck is the guy on the street. And that's the deal. So these are just some thoughts. And I think so far what you said is amazing. The speakers, you could reach out to celebrities. Okay, you could reach out to politicians if you've got new people running for office who oppose the garbage. They might be great. You could have local attorneys come up.
Yeah, let's talk about about Baltimore. This Clay chick, on the RNC there, the one that just got social media.
She's great.
Viral. Do you know Kim Klachik?
Yeah, she's terrific.
She will be at that rally like a boom.
Well, if they're doing it in Baltimore,
I think she's in Baltimore.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah,
and
get her. Amazing. She'll be the head speaker, and tens of thousands of people will come out to hear her speak on a PA. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
So those are the types of people that we need to pinpoint. And by using the community right now, if you're watching this and you have some excellent ideas of people in different cities that are going to be the keynote speaker at these rallies, please comment below. Like during March Against Monsanto, one of the ex-chiefs of police came out in full uniform to support us and to speak. And that is very impactful because he was like, a god to the community of Philadelphia for 3 decades. And, he's like a mentor and a grandfather. And so when he speaks in his uniform, everyone is just silent. It's just like they give him the utmost respect. Right. And so these are the types of people that really can impact the community. They can impact the message, and they start to make the politicians that are being these idiots, these draconian, stupid, made up rules, they make them start to listen because their constituents are out there. This is the actual community. It's the business owners. It's the leaders of the community, and they do not consent. So literally all your power is removed.
The citizens and the taxpayers and the people who are being told, stay at home, don't go to a restaurant, don't go to the beach, don't go to the park, wear your mask, no more than 10 people, stay 6 feet apart is all bullshit. Okay. So that is the thing that we do not consent. And you will be fined. You will be jailed. You'll be charged with criminal offenses if you do this. Is a crock of shit. And the bottom line is that is an overreach. And the poor guys who declared their, what do we call that? A non-essential business. So I think having local attorneys who are not just there to be opportunistic, short-sighted, self-involved morons would be excellent if they're going to speak of constitutional issues and the rights of the people. That comes on the stage, though. We're back to the beginnings of this. So we have the what are we calling it? The path. What are we calling that? The path, the march path, or the track? What the hell was the word?
Well, the march gets everyone, riled up. A good march is anywhere between 1 and 1.5 miles. You don't want to go past 1.5 miles, even with 10,000 people coming, because that whole 1.5 miles will all be people. There'll be people still marching from the beginning when you're already done. And that is impactful because you shut down that whole march route. There is no traffic. People are wondering what's going on. All the businesses are looking out the window. And then that transitions after all the people get to the rally spot. It takes a half hour, an hour or so. This crowd is building around the stage as people flow in. And it is packful as the flow of people start surrounding this venue.
Let me ask you, can you do
in that venue, go ahead.
Can you do the rally at the end point? We're calling that the route. So can you do the rally right there where you have your public speakers in front of the stupid mayor's office and the tar and feather vat ready? Is that a separate permit? Or
absolutely. No, there's a march permit and a rally permit. There's 2 permits. Okay. So when you stop and you're not marching and you have speakers, that's a different thing. That's a rally. Okay. And, so you need special permits for that.
Go ahead. Go ahead, man.
Yeah. And a lot of these permits, you need to be insured. Now, luckily, because they're constitutional events, you have a redress against the government. These are guaranteed to be paid for by the government. So you don't have to pay for the insurance if you fill out the paperwork. They pay for the necessary liability for the event. And that's their part. So you pay for the permit part, then they cover you with the liability, which is why you need the correct amount of people. That's the most important thing on the form. How many are coming? If you say 35 people are coming and 9,000 show up, you, the organizer, have big problems because they can just shut it down.
So you always estimate high, right? If you're expecting 2,000, you say 8.
I'm like, 50,000. I'm going to 50,000 to 1 million. That's what I said. I think for one march, there was about 3,000 people but they appreciate you being safer rather than not safe.
Right. Or enthusiastic and encouraging.
Right. And if we support not defunding the police, if they know that one of our missions is to not defund the police, you're going to have a lot of support with the local law enforcement. Sure. So that will be a really big draw because in big cities, there could be 1,000 cops on the perimeter of your march. It's insane. Motorcycles, horses, the whole 9.
I love that. Real party. All right. Mm-hmm. So the point is, violence is not good. We don't want to be put in a position where we're wrecking the city. We don't want to be the Black Lives Matter where you're spray painting shit, breaking windows, looting. No, everything has to go calm, cool, collected. At the rally, that can get a little more boisterous, shall we say. But that has to be focused at the asshole that we're talking to. I'm thinking of a Governor DeWine, right? He has to hear it. I'm thinking of Whitner, right, up in Michigan. I'm thinking of this clown in New Jersey, the idiot over in Pennsylvania, the other idiot down in Virginia. And my favorite has got to be de Blasio. Now, I got comments this morning because I mentioned we were going to try and get together, and I'm glad we did. Good. But somebody put in a comment about Hawaii. Now, you and I have been talking. It's like, it'd be great to do this as a national movement. But in order to do that, it's going to require, serious funding, NGOs, the George Soroses. And I think what they did is the BLM basically built off of the Occupy Wall Street, and then they morphed it, right? So Occupy Wall Street was big. It was well-funded, well-organized, and you were involved in that, weren't you, Diamond?
Yes. And then the March Against Monsanto was a working group that came off of Occupy.
Right.
So,
And now,
you
what
know,
about Black
there
Lives
isn't
Matter?
a
Good.
well, you see,
Black Lives.
during Occupy, Antifa had a working group in Occupy. Black Lives Matter had been organized during March Against Monsanto. They were much less aggressive 5 years ago and then 7 years ago than they are now. So they had been infiltrated by more and more of a communist military element in recent times. Now, these are not things that we didn't talk about at Occupy on how to actually be violent and get what we want through violent means. But most people don't want to be violent. And therein lies human nature. So what you have in that fringe radical BLM group is, you know, radical communist anarchists. I'm an anarchist, but I'm not a communist.
No, they're Marxists. They're
Right. I'm a
communists.
voluntarist. I think all humans have the same rights as I do and the same freedoms. You know, I leave you alone, you leave me alone, and we shake hands. I mean,
Right.
that is the way the world should work, and the world does not work that way. Burning communities and beating up people and being threatening is not a world I want to live in. And I don't want to live around people that are like that. No one does. So this is a very simple message that I think 99% of the humans that live on this earth can get behind.
Flower children. Here. What about Lightfoot? Mr. Greg says he's a Chicago. He's a Chi-Town man. Yeah, so you're not allowed to have protests.
Yeah, so we're talking light. 4 blocks of her house, but not in her office. You could certainly go there. We're talking Lightfoot. We're talking Cuomo, Tom Wolf, de Blasio. You need to march to these people's offices with lots of people and tell them we do not consent to your nonsense. The people that are at Cuomo's office can be handing out flyers on how he killed all these elderly people in the old age homes by his mandate, which he hasn't talked about, right? It's Trump's fault that I sent all the old people to die. No, Cuomo, it's your fault. And you need to disseminate that information. You need to be in Lightfoot's office, handing out to the community that you can't protest with a 400-foot perimeter of her house, but you can burn down the rest of the city. I mean, these
that's why that
are
should be pushed on them.
So un-American that they can go fuck themselves.
Oh, I like it. We could put that as the second soundbite underneath. We do not consent. Fuck you. Fuck off. Go fuck yourself. No, that doesn't work. Just go with the first two. Here's my point. If we have a scheduled rally and a march, and it's going to end at their office, what's the bet that they're not going to be there? You know they're not going to be there. They're going to avoid it because they're chicken shit. Now, you said something that was interesting. Once this happens, you want this to continue. How do we get it to continue? You have to get a permit for the next day or what? Remember?
Well, a few things we've seen happen. If you have a large enough group that refuses to leave and they're peaceful, it's very difficult to get the police to get them to leave. If they're violent, it's easy to get the riot gear and the tear gas. So in Occupy, all we had was 3,000 people sit down, put up tents, and say we're not going anywhere. And if you're nonviolent, the police aren't really going to do anything. That's why they let homeless camps stay there, you know? So if you're really there to redress the government because you have a grievance against their unconstitutional mandates, over 70% of the police will not remove you because they support you. You tell them what you're doing and they're like, I'm for that because I don't like any of this. You know what I mean? The police are now the enemy, and we are opposite of that. They're not the enemy of us. So they're not gonna make you leave.
But when they get orders,
that's called an occupation.
Right.
Okay. So if you occupy in front of that person's office, then they may let you stay there for a week. They let us stay at Occupy for a few months.
Right. And
they told us we had to go.
What effect?
So they do give you some.
What were the results? You know what the results were? It organized a group that got converted into a bigger group, and that's what we're seeing today. That's what that was. I'm telling you, people are outraged. People
No,
are outraged and they want to express
if
more than a grievance. They want to let these assholes know
right.
that they are governing with our consent. We do not consent. What's the song? Bye bye. Okay, now, if they believe that they can
No.
dictate,
So let me just, can I jump in real quick? Let me
sure.
just tell you some of the things that come out of marches and rallies like this. During Occupy, everyone said, no, you didn't do anything. 50,000 people didn't do anything. You just camped and whatever. In the years following Occupy, one of the working groups called Occupy Debt was able to purchase millions of dollars of debt from Americans and pay it off and then rip it up. So they were buying the debt at 2% from these scumbag bill collectors and burning the receipts. So literally you could buy $1 million of debt if you had 25 grand, and they would do that and burn it. Then they would call all the people, which are usually elderly, and say, your medical bills have been burned. They don't exist anymore. Your student loan, we just paid it.
Good.
God bless America. So there's a lot of good things. Yeah.
That's good.
A lot of good things come out.
As long as you're wearing your mask, you're staying 6 feet away, and there's not more than 10 people there. That's the problem. They can go fuck themselves. You understand? This is not about playing games with that bullshit. This is about, don't tell me I have to wear a mask. Don't tell me I have to get a vaccine. Don't tell me that I can't have more than 10 people, right? What if you want to go to a wedding, a funeral, a picnic, the beach? Oh, no, you have to social distancing. This is bullshit, and you know it. And we talked about it, that this is all compliance. It's all social control. The faceless people, the droids, the faceless, identifiable-less masses of communist China. That's what they do. That's not what we do. That's my opinion. And the rage should be properly directed.
Yeah, and let's point out some more things that are going on here. You've heard in the last 3 weeks that the neck gaiter face mask is not effective against COVID. Well, we know that no masks are effective against preventing the spread of COVID. But the reason they're telling you the neck gaiter doesn't work is because if you have a neck gaiter on, it doesn't show your chin line or your neck. And then none of the video surveillance equipment works on your upper eyes only. If you have a mask on, they can still determine the shape of your face. So that facial recognition works. If you have a neck gaiter on, the facial recognition is not recording you. So that's one of the reasons they want more control. They're using that facial recognition now and the mask to figure out if it's being effective. Second, 99% of the population does not die from COVID-19. In fact, it's closer to 99.6, which means 99.6% of the population does not require a vaccine. So why they're pushing everyone get pricked with their money-making scheme is beyond me. And it's untested. It's an RNA vaccine. We know that the flu vaccine is maybe 30% effective in some people. I mean, why would anyone get a flu vaccine if you're guaranteed 60 to 70%? Bullshit. That's why they give it out for free. I'll take it. My arm will hurt for a week. I mean, it's crazy. So this is the type of information you need to be disseminating at these events. You need to be shoving it down the throats of the public. And the sheep, they're going to be all around like, what's going on? Oh my God. I thought the vaccines were safe. You need anti-vaxxers there. You need smart scientific anti-vaxxers with data to hand out. And so that's how these marches are effective. When you start to change the narrative by teaching the public, which has been indoctrinated by the mainstream media, you can start to change the world. Excellent. And so you just need to reach the tipping point. When one neighbor starts to have the balls to tell his neighbor that we don't need a vaccine. Did you know that? Did you see these numbers?
Right. And handing out flyers and we talked about it last night, at the rally, you have tables, you have tents, you have people handing out info, okay? All like-minded. You don't have opposition coming out. You don't have little opportunistic idiots. Yes. You just hand out the info, and that's the whole deal. And this way, it's an information exchange and a rally and a march. Got it, campers? How do you like the show so far? We're just jamming. You could leave if you want to. This is great, Diamond. And this is
we've gone over 30 minutes.
Yeah, we're at 34 minutes and 53 seconds. Well, we're good on this, but I like it. How about the Women's March in D.C.? I'm looking at here. Excellent. You'll be there. Now, we were talking about targeting specific areas. Now, the info that Diamond laid out at the beginning, we're going to write this up and distribute it in sheets so you have it, so you can do it. Now, somebody made a great point today. Said he's plugged into like a Facebook group that has almost 4,000 people. And I'm not sure where he was, but I said, great, join that group. How do we take that and get them activated and involved? What do you suggest, man?
Well, I have been creating Facebook groups since Facebook was created, and I control maybe 58 different groups on Facebook, meaning I'm the admin and no one else is the admin. And this is including multiple March Against Monsanto, other different types of groups, including, geology and the sun shutting down, other science groups. So I literally have access to 500,000 people that have joined these groups over the last 15 years. So good. This is when you have your business model, when you have that march or rally planned, then you can then go advertise it in these groups. Another thing that we talked about, which you should be considering, is that Facebook may censor your event, because one of the key ways that you can organize on Facebook is by setting up an event. It's why the March Against Monsanto was successful. We set up events in 15,000 cities in the US that were blank. They just had all the information, like the PDF we're developing, below it. And it explained what the march was. Here's the ruse. There wasn't a single organizer connected with any of the cities. None. We just said that this event was happening. Here are the rules. And just click here if you want to be the organizer. There are so many people chomping at the bit to be the leader of these types of things that it worked. We had all 15,000 events picked up by people who had never organized a thing before. And we walked them through it. Now, some of the marches only had 35 people. That's okay. They were in a town with 380 people. Some of the marches had 35,000 people. They were in Houston. So it depends on where you are and what you're setting up, but it is not hard to set up an event like this, to make it legal, to get the support of law enforcement, to make it safe, nonviolent, and to get your message across to the politicians that are corrupt, that we need to be held accountable. We need to vote them out of office. We need them tarred and feathered and held accountable. They should be sued for the money that they've. It is completely egregious, the destruction that some of these so-called oligarchs that we elected into office, what they have done to small business owners across the U.S. I will say 1 million small business owners would love to join this march. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'll tell you what. I told you last night, and I need to repeat it here. It was Thomas Jefferson that said, when the people fear the government, it's tyranny. When the government fear the people, it's liberty. Shall I repeat that? When the government fears the people, it's liberty. And the people fear the government, it's tyranny. And right now, we've got rhetoric and a very slow encroachment and a massive flood the message Event 201 campaign to create fear in the public. So they're bringing in a straw man, right? And they're overblowing it to create fear. It's the Hegelian dialectic: problem, reaction, solution. And they're steering it. And we do not consent. That's the first point. Second point, which I was explaining to you, and everybody is aware of this, about the degree of compromise and blackmail and corruption in the government leaders. They have to decide, are they more afraid of those who are blackmailing them and having their little pictures or information disclosed, or are they more afraid of the public who is screaming outside of their doors with pitchforks and torches and a barrel of hot tar and chicken feathers? So that may get some action and saying, we do not consent. Fuck you. And fuck off. Nah, 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 nah. Yeah. Nah, 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 nah. Hey, hey.
Nah, 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 nah. Hey, hey. Goodbye. Now,
There you go.
a really good, great point here is that if you have a private homeowner or a private vehicle owner that has a pickup truck, he can put the tar and feathers in the back of the pickup truck and have it anywhere in the world. It's completely legal. If you put it on the sidewalk, you might be threatening, but remember, you need to use the system to beat the system. There are ways to get around rules and laws where they say, oh, you can't have tar and feathers here. Yeah, but Billy Bob can show up with them. No, we didn't know he was coming with them.
That's a brilliant
and then you
point.
could tell the park in front. I mean, so you need to be creative.
My tranny broke. The engine died. I can't get the engine started. I broke down right at the front steps. Imagine that.
All the tires are flat. I know what happened. I mean, we actually we bought a car from a junkyard. We paid a guy who had a flatbed to back it up to my high school. And there was a place called the Smoking Alley, which had an impenetrable fence around it. We dumped the car into this area that you couldn't get it out of. It cost $500. And we left 2 sledgehammers. That was the best day of high school that I ever had. And so that's what being creative is. You can literally change the world by being creative. We're not just looking for signs that have a message on it. We're looking for something more creative.
Voices.
In the March Against Monsanto, we had these 3D puppets that were 50 feet high. You could make like a Bill de Blasio puppet. You be creative. You could already tar and feather the politician and make a paper mache float on someone's car. So, I mean, it could be, whatever. And that's what's going to get picked up by the media. They're going to.
We could have the Donald Trump floating doll in London. Remember that stupidity? The Donald Trump balloon, the nonsense. And the media picked it up. But that's because the media is controlled, to make sure that they promote it. Now, the point on the media, and this is really for a different discussion, and you did a lovely piece the other day on the 6 corporations that run it and what they suppress, and how they're all controlled. And the bottom line is they're also independent. So part of the working group is to promote this to the media, and we need to get promotion, because if we have 20,000 people show up at an event and there's no coverage, the only people know about it are the 20,000 and the asshole that we're protesting against who isn't there. So I kind of like the idea of going to their houses. What do you think about that? How do they go to Tucker Carlson's house?
First of all, it's illegal to march into residential communities. It's illegal. You can't get a permit for a rally there either. It has to be in a city where the sidewalks are public and you're allowed to protest on the sidewalk in any major city without a permit. But you have to remain on that little 6-foot area. So there are rules and regulations to follow. Plus, it's a little threatening to go to someone's house. It's called doxing. When you give someone's their home up, the position of their home, that you're just an asshole. I don't want anyone coming to my house that I don't invite here. So by doing that, you become an asshole. We don't want to become an asshole. We need to meet them at the public forum that they got elected into, that we pay taxes to keep up, for them to make these retarded rules. And we do not consent, and we need to bring it there. Then and only then will we do it. Now, medical doctors, we need medical doctors speaking at the event. Also, this is different than other rallies. The conservative media will support this. Every town has a Fox News affiliate, so they will be there. And they may also be able to share with your media working group other conservative outlets that are smaller that they network with that will also be there. PBS tends to also want to cover anything. So reach out to public broadcasting because they like to portray both sides. But stay away from the 6 corporations, CNN or your ABC or your NBC affiliate. They are not going to cover it. They're not allowed to cover it. They'll pretend to cover it and then won't cover it. And a good example of that is March Against Monsanto. Go ahead.
Hang on a second. Hold on. You made the great point last night. Some of these guys are right on the street. Some of these guys are right on the street. And in the back of their window is the street. Now, if the march is there and there are hundreds of thousands of people out there, they're going to have to cover it. No?
Yeah. I was telling you that, like the Fox News affiliate in Philly films out into Market Street. So if you just brought a whole march there and we all pushed our signs up in the window, they can't do anything about it because they're doing the afternoon news.
Right.
And people then are like, why aren't you why aren't you covering that? What's going on out the window?
Right.
I mean, I've seen this before in New York City. There's something going on and they're ignoring it. The anchor is ignoring it. They're like, they just keep going on with their nonsense.
Someone got
it is
excited,
a show, and they are paid actors.
Militia. Someone got excited, had to call the state militia. That'll wake them up. What about going to the endpoint at CNN and scream fake news and have the rally right there? Or MSNBC.
That would be awesome. It's awesome.
Just thoughts.
Totally available. It's all those places are in cities on the sidewalk, and like in Philly, every single one of those studios, they have no security. Right. They have no way to secure that sidewalk. It's public. So you can easily bring your march right by their window. It's not hard. And you need some recognizance. You got to find out when. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you want to end it there when they are taping. So you need to have people there a few weeks, finding out the schedule, when they tape the show, when they go live, and corroborating that with watching the actual program on TV, so that when you do it, you bring the march there at a time when they are live and they can't shut that camera down.
Right.
That's what you need to do.
That's a good way to do it. Yeah. All right. I like the idea of having doctors, quality, well-informed, truthful doctors presenting the argument at the rally on the stage, and we'll arrange to get stages, and we'll arrange, and that again, if there's money and donations set up, that's one thing. If there's people contributing stages and PA systems, music stores, whatever, bring the stuff forward. So all of this has to come into the logistics. All right. You think we gave him enough for the moment, Diamond?
Oh my, way too much.
Too much.
But it's a lot to marinate on.
A lot of stuff. All right. So again, the first step is reach out for like-minded people. If you're finding the Facebook groups, you had mentioned Endpoint. Remember that? That is what are we calling that?
Yeah.
I love that. Where's the word? Where you're having the redundancy.
Target?
Right? The redundancy. So if the Facebook group disappears, you've got it plugged into Endpoint, and you sell tickets for no cost.
No,
this will actually take.
It's called Eventbrite, so they will not censor your event. So what most people do, they set up you set up the Facebook event, and then they click on the Eventbrite link, which brings them to Eventbrite. So they're registering on the Facebook event, and they're also re-registering independent site where if Facebook were to remove your event after, let's say you've got 800 people coming and then they take it down, you'll get a hole in your soul. Trust me, things like this have happened to me. But if it's backed up with a double redundant through Eventbrite, you can then put up another event right on Facebook, stick it to the man, and do it all over again. And they can take it down as much as they want, but the data on the Eventbrite will not go away. Sell tickets for free, and people can even they can even put in their name, address, and phone number on Eventbrite if they want to volunteer as part of the organizing team. So not only do you have the ability to find people, how many people want to come, but you can also find people that will help you in organizing the event. Specialists, experts. I have musicians contact me. They say, we'll play for free. So lots of people will reach out for support. People want to donate food, money, printing, all this. It's natural and awesome when you see how it works.
Right. So the question then is timeline. One thing is saying, all right, let's take 6, 8, 10 weeks. The other is, let's throw this together in 3 or 4 weeks, and then you hit it again. And it grows, because you had told me that there'll be a lot of people say, oh man, I didn't know about it. How come? I'll come to the next one. Right? Yeah.
Right. So to build a movement, you need momentum. So if you start small, you're fine, because you're going to have people that are like, how come I didn't know about that? And be like, we're doing it again in 4 weeks. We did March Against Monsanto, the first one, May 27th. It was so successful, I said, we cannot wait another year. So we went again October 27th. And that was very, very effective. We kept up the momentum. People were stoked. They're like, 3 more months. I keep the signs. I can think of some new ideas. I can get more people here. And the people that missed it showed up. So in this case, we could do it in 3 weeks, and then you do another one in the week later, and another one the week later, and you keep it up until November 7th. I mean, it could be, you could do it daily, because once you have the permits set up, the model set up to repeat it, to replicate it, you're going to know all the people. You're going to know all the places to do all the things to make this legal again, and it's very easy. You might be able to even submit 35 consecutive daily permits for a march on the same day. And that might save you money. 35 consecutive rally permits all on the same day, and it might save you money. So always think outside of the box, be creative, save money, and you know, use the system to defeat the system. It's the only way to do it.
Any idea what's the turn time on permits, or is that vary per city or per place? You file for it. When do you find out?
Yeah, like a federal permit for the rally at the Constitution Center. If the paperwork is filled in correctly, it will be accepted as long as there's no other group. So the earlier you set up the time, you might have to work with them to find out if there's availability for your spot. The turnaround time is not that long. It's a week or so, you'll get the information. If you're with the legitimate people right there and they look at your paperwork, check the date, they'll just give you the nod right there and say, yeah, this is approved. Just give us the $25 check. And so it's not like a waiting period where they discuss it, because it's guaranteed in the Constitution that you're allowed to do this. And you're just filling out the paperwork to get the police to make it safe and liability insurance to cover the city's ass in the event of a riot. Now, you don't want the riot to happen, because if you have a peaceful event where the police are there and supported, any single thing that you ever want to do in that town will be supported, and it will be very easy. It was very easy for me after my first march to do anything I wanted in Philadelphia. When they found out it was me, they're like, of course you could do it. We love your stuff. Never a problem.
Let me ask you a second. So
a
lot of stuff, man. There's so much info. So the permit thing, now, how is it that these Black Lives Matter startup marches, they don't have permits for this shit, where they just jump up and show up, and then they got Antifa and they wreck and burn things. And then the media says these are peaceful demonstrations. And Nadler comes out and says this is a myth and Antifa is a myth. How is it that they're marching? They didn't get permits for this shit. This is spontaneous, supposedly. It's made to look like it's a grassroots operation. Well, what if this becomes a grassroots operation and 5,000 people show up? We don't have a permit and we don't need a permit. We are petitioning our government with grievances, right? Telling us as a permit is nice. This is the free speech zone. Sit there. That's your free speech zone.
Here is the problem with approaching it that way.
Okay.
You just lived through the last 4 months and you saw what happened, Farmer. Can you explain to me in 2 sentences or less what happens when you don't get permits? Please explain to me. 38 fucking people murdered. $40 billion in damage. That's what you get. That is not why I want to organize this march to burn down every fucking major city.
No,
that's fucking retarded. That's what Democrats do. Listen to me. Let me finish. Let me fucking finish.
Say it.
All of this damage, all of the burning, all of the looting, all the murders is allowed in Democrat-run cities, because if you spontaneously organize a march and you're a person of color, they're not going to fucking stop you, because then they're a racist. And Democrats are really good at being racist and pretending they're not.
Right.
While they allow the inner city poor communities burn and black on black murders, which are well above anything that have to do with Caucasian on black murders, they allow it to happen because it gives them control. They can control the poor people. Walk through the cities.
Okay.
These inner Americans lived are burning. So they're allowing it to happen because it gives them control.
Right.
We want to do it the opposite way.
It was their plan. They wanted
Because
to
we
make
want
it look like. But wait a minute.
exactly.
My point is not to be the same as these imbeciles, not to make it look like it was organic and go burn and paint and smash. What if you have a rally, an official rally, and a march, and then the next day you want to do it again, and it becomes spontaneous? What if it is? And it's again non-violent,
So
not
that
talking about burning and wrecking
look,
and
look.
breaking.
So look, if you can pull off a successful event
Okay.
with the police presence, they're all going to be there. All of them are there, and then you
Okay.
all show up the next day, and there's no march, there's no permits. What do you think those cops are going to do? They're going to support you and say, where are we going? Because that's always what happens at the front of the line. The head of the police, whenever they show up, they're like, where are you going? I am able to even switch the march route. If I am friends with these cops by the third hour, they know that this is an awesome event. And I'm like, hey, do you think we could go up to 22nd Street and fuck with those people? They'll make a call and I'll be like, yeah, we could do that. And then they shift the traffic. So yeah, anything is possible. And then if you have an amazing event and the police feel supported and you all show up tomorrow, they're going to support you. They're not going to stop you. So that is a really good thought. So do it right the first time and be allowed to do it forever the next time.
Right.
Yeah.
Live
because that's what happened with Occupy. We occupied, we were peaceful, and they said, well, we really can't evict these people. They're not doing anything. They're redressing the government. It's in the Constitution. We can't remove them. I mean, that's the point. You have to set it up with that mindset. We're sick. We won't take it.
Can you see this? Stay peaceful as water has fluoride.
We want answers.
And we're planned to die. Yes, stay peaceful, defeat those who try to kill us. Yeah, well, that's kind of my sentiments. But
look,
you got to start off nice.
That's bullshit. That fucking comment. That guy who commented is a fucking idiot. The people trying to kill you are the multinational corporations, not the politicians. The politicians are then bribed by the corporations to allow them to kill you. So if you want to change the world, you've got to change the political system that is bribery. Once Citizens United happened in 1989, all bets were off that you would ever get a fair shake as a human. Money is votes. Multinational corporations own your ass. That's why you eat poison. That's why they poison the food, the water, the skies. And you sit there and blame the politicians. The American population is pathetic because the very same people that are pissed off that there's poison in the food are buying the fucking Doritos right now. That guy is eating Doritos and drinking a soda. The hypocrisy is pathetic. Grow your own food. Grow your own. Trust me, 99% of people are full of shit. They don't want poison in their food, but they buy poison food. Good.
Okay, hang on. He's got a rebuttal.
Be the change.
Hang on. Here's the rebuttal. Politicians do nothing. And I agree with this. Hang on a second, Diamond. Whining and yelling at Farmer to let you finish. Here's the point, right? The politicians, by not upholding the law, by not upholding the Constitution, they are there to protect, defend, and uphold that Constitution for us, not for their fucking pockets, for us. And they have betrayed us. And that is treason. They took an oath to do it, and they need to be stepped down or resigned or be resigned. That's the way it goes. And if we fear them, we have tyranny. If they fear us, we have liberty. And I'm going to go with that. And I am a big Thomas Jefferson fan. So I agree with the concept.
I live in a world where you
got to play by the rules. I love the pickup truck with it breaks down right in the front. Hey, that's the way you play the game. I agree. And I am not promoting a violent revolution here. I am promoting a very loud, to make no uncertain terms that we do not consent with the masks, with the essential businesses, with the 10 feet, with the 10 people, all the bullshit. Okay, stay at home. House arrest is a prison sentence.
The treason is the problem. These politicians used to work for us. After Citizens United, they now work for multinational corporations. They sit there and they talk to you, but they're not going to do anything for you. They're going to do whatever the multinational corporation that funds their campaign tells them to do. And this is the problem with government. It's not a blackmail. It's a revolving door system where you become a politician, then you become a CEO of Monsanto, and then you go back into politics, then you go back out and work for Merck. They're literally
work at the FDA, right?
Right. In plain sight, they are so full of shit. And then people think that on November 7th, we're going to elect, like the actual public is going to do something. It's a joke. And this is the problem. We need to get money out of politics. That is the number one thing. We need to get money out of politics. That is the number one thing. These politicians will never do a thing for you. And I even explained it to you. I worked at the local level. You can find a genuine citizen that gets into politics. He really wants to help. In 3 years, they're paid off. They're full of shit, and they are stabbing you right in the back. And that's the way the political machine works today. I worked in it for over a decade. I saw it happening. It is a problem.
There's no argument there. We know that's what's happening. What we're talking about now is don't overreach and tell us we have to stay in our houses. What's an essential business? 6 feet away, 10 feet. And there's a bigger problem. There's horseshit with the testing, the social contacts, the surveillance, okay? You have been presumed guilty. You are Typhoid Mary. You have to wear a mask because you will give somebody else the disease that you are construed to have. Well, wait a minute. Prove I have it, okay? They've reversed our Constitution on us, and they've played Orwellian bullshit, and this garbage has to stop. And I think on that note, we can close it because we're right at an hour. We're at a 101 or 102. Anything else? Final words? A lot of info here. We got
I just want to say to the people listening, we are animated because we're all angry. We're all angry. But the problem is that the general population is afraid. And that is a very bad recipe for control. And we need this to end. The sooner the better. We can get money out of politics later, but something has to be done right now to end the fear in the population, because this fear is going to lead to more and more control. And it's going to get very bad very quickly.
Agreed. It's going to get worse. And they're going to mandate vaccines, and who knows what they're going to kill and maim with that shit, or put in tracking, or the RFIDs, or the micro dots. It's beyond belief. And the bottom line is they've fabricated and overblown, for lack of a better word, this pandemic, and they're calling it an emergency. I don't even see that it's an emergency. They've inflated the numbers. You know that. They've got all of the fake positives. The tests are maybe 50% accurate. And you have no right to challenge the test. Look, you're being quarantined. You're being thrown into COVID camps. It is bullshit. It violates the Constitution on so many levels. The gray area is the fight between medical overreach and constitutional rights. And they've bought and paid for all of our representatives who have thereby violated their oath to uphold, protect, and defend. If you saw Trump last night, he did a swearing in of 6 new citizens, naturalized. And in there, they swore, each one, that they would uphold the law, uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution from all enemies, public, foreign, and domestic. The bottom line is that's for a citizen. The politicians do the same thing when they take public office. Accountability is necessary. That's all I have to say. What do you think? And then we should wrap it.
Yeah. Well, I think we should have been all very concerned when in 2016, Bill Gates said, if we do a really good job with vaccines, we can reduce the population. And
well, then people should show up at his house. So they should show up at his house.
Oh my goodness. Now he has a wall built around his house, but he doesn't support the wall, which is funny because these elites are of our enemy. So
They
let's
are.
just leave
And
it
they're
on
looking
that.
for control. We'll close it there. All right, campers. Diamond was good. I love when you get a little friggin' hyper and scream at me. They like that. And they love how calm
I
stay.
love you, Farmer.
Who could blame you? So the bottom line is they don't realize that we're thousands of miles apart. And I'm looking at a video screen, and these poor folks are sitting there trapped in their houses because they are being good, compliant people. We need to fix this, campers, and this is the first step. So take a look at the beginning if you missed it and groove on it and take some notes. When should we come back again? A couple of days, we'll work on this and we'll announce it. All right? FJ out.
Yeah, and if you're and if you're interested in organizing a march or rally in your city, hit Farmer or I up and we will get it started.
Right.
Let's get this party started, kids.
You can put this up on your channel too, and that'll be great. And again, I'll put the PayPal and the Patreon link. Please support the channel, and the same for Diamonds. He got defunded or demonetized, as I did months ago. So welcome to the party. We'll see you all later. Thank you,
sir.
campers.
Peace.
Bye for now.